We're studying together John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. We're up to law number 6 already, the law of solid ground. Trust is the foundation for leadership. So it's simply an exercise in reflecting on how it is that in any position of leadership that we're in, people aren't going to follow us if they don't trust us. Leadership is like taking a person on a journey, right? We're journeying together. Got news for you. If that other person doesn't trust you, that person's not going to be traveling with you. 1989, John Maxwell shares the story of how it was in 1989. He was the pastor of the congregation in San Diego, California, where he made 3 decisions all at the same time, and he didn't think about how these decisions were going to impact his congregation. He changed up the annual Christmas show, a tradition. He discontinued the Sunday evening service, and he fired a staff member. And it was sort of like, he was making decisions, and people started looking at him and his decisions and wondering, why is he doing this? Is this really the guy that we want to follow? And so as a result of that, he says he was convinced that they were all the right decisions, but the way that he went about making those decisions and communicating those decisions just wasn't right. He usually when he made decisions, he would meet with key leaders ahead of time and discuss with them, get their feedback on it, give them time to think about it and to get the buy-in of others. He didn't do any of that this time. He didn't guide them through the issues. And so his point of all of that is that people know when we make mistakes. So do we as leaders fess up to it, right? Do we admit when we're wrong and reestablish the trust that people had in us? He says when it comes to leadership, we can't take shortcuts. Our successes and our failures impact our credibility in a big way. The analogy that he uses is a pocket change. He says when you become a leader, every time you make a good decision, it's like adding pocket change. You get pocket change. Anytime you make a bad decision, it's like giving away some of that pocket change. And so he says fortunately, when he made those bad decisions, it was like losing some pocket change. But fortunately, it didn't bankrupt him. Fortunately, other people still had trust and confidence in him. So what I think about when I hear stories like this is simply how he started Holy Family. It took a certain amount of trust for every single person who's sitting around this table. It took a certain amount of trust to go from where you were and how you worshiped before with whatever community to making the leap here. Trust in various persons. And as I said it last night at a clergy council meeting, Father Roy was just really instrumental in the founding of this community 5 years ago. There's just people who were trusting other persons and what we were doing in a big, big way that I take extremely seriously. Especially in light of all the attacks that we had, from the Roman Catholic Diocese of Austin, the Chisme of Comadres and Padres, etc. How it was that, we had this conviction, this trust that this is what we're doing and where we're going. So he says every leader has a certain amount of pocket change when you begin in a position. The challenge is when you're out of pocket change, when you've made enough bad decisions, you're out as a leader. People no longer follow you. He talks about trust being the foundation of leadership. Interesting, he talks about 3 different C's: competence, connection, and character. But then for the rest of the chapter, he focuses only on character. People are not going to trust us if we don't have a certain character. So he mentions competence and connection, connecting with people, competence, knowing what you're doing. But really the rest of the chapter talks about character. John Maxwell says people will forgive us for occasional mistakes based on our ability or lack of ability, but slips in character, that's a little more challenging. The note that I took in this book is interesting because in August of this year, when I was reading that chapter again, I made a note and I even put the date there because I had a dream the night before where I stole a Jeep. I've never stolen a Jeep in my life. But what the dream was pointing out to me was I was running for elected office, if you could imagine me ever running for elected office. I was running for elected office, and during the middle of the campaign, I stole a Jeep, and it ruined my chances of ever being elected. And it just occurred to me, here I was, I had the dream that night, and I was reading John Maxwell's law of solid ground. It was sort of like, a slip in character. If Father Jamie were to steal a car, some of us around the table would probably be asking some questions. You'd probably be losing some pocket change here. He points to the words of the PepsiCo chair and CEO Craig Rotherup, who said, "People will tolerate honest mistakes, but if you violate their trust, you'll find it difficult to regain their confidence." There's just something about, we've all had situations where we trusted a person and something happened in that relationship, right? How easy is it to trust that person again? That's difficult. So John Maxwell says, treat trust as your most precious asset. What's the most important thing that you have? He says, it's the trust that other people have in you. General Norman Schwarzkopf, any of us old enough to remember what was that? Was that Desert Storm? Schwarzkopf? Schwarzkopf said, leadership is a potent combination of strategy and character. So leadership is strategy and character, but if you have to be without one of those, be without strategy. Ooh. Better to be a leader with character and no strategy than a leader with strategy and no character. He says, character and leadership go hand in hand. Character makes trust possible, and trust makes leadership possible. So, can you be a leader without character? I was simply thinking about this because when we talk about faith and all these people in the Bible who went out on faith, why would they have faith? Why would they trust God? Right? This Sunday's gospel of the disciples giving up everything that they had, why would they do that? I mean, it was some faith, some trust in the credibility, in the character of that person. Why would Abraham trust God when God said, sacrifice your only son, kill your only son? What? Obviously, Abraham trusted God and God's character. God was faithful. Yeah, God may be putting me to the test, but God's going to be faithful. Character communicates, John Maxwell says. When we lead, people consent to journey with us, and the success of the trip depends on our character, right? If we slip up as leaders in terms of character, what's going to happen? Suddenly, we often use the analogy of the bus in these classes, how you have to get, all of us are going on a journey together in the bus, and in the bus you have to have the right people on the bus and the right people in the right seats, etc. Right? What happens if you lose people's trust? They would say, excuse me, I think I'll be getting down here. He points to the 1980s. I don't know that I remember these very well, but some of us may remember the 1980s. He was saying there were a series of high-profile Christian leaders who, their actions, the things that they were doing back then sort of cast this shadow over the credibility of all the others. I think I would relate it to the Roman Catholic priest sexual abuse scandal, right? In 2002, January, when that broke, suddenly, for me, a newly ordained priest than anyone else, it was sort of like this demoralizing thing because the sins of others were being cast on us. Other people were seeing us through the lenses of what they were seeing, through the character of those others. Tammy Faye and others, there were other characters in the 1980s that we remember. John Morley, he quotes as saying, no one can climb out beyond the limitations of his or her own character. Wherever your character is, you'll never rise beyond that. If you have a low character, caution, because you'll never be able to outclimb your character. He says leadership is about respect and relationship. So how can you lead if no one wants to walk with you? Christian author J.R. Miller says, the only thing that walks back from the tomb with the mourners, think about this for a moment, when people go to your funeral, the only thing that walks back from the tomb with them and is not buried is your character. Ooh, that's kind of profound. When each of us is dead and gone, we're celebrating Father Jamie's funeral, we each walk away, the mourner, there's one thing that doesn't stay in the tomb, and that is his character. That is your character, which follows those people. It's full of G. He says, what a person is survives that person and can never be buried. And then the final example he used for any of us who are old enough to remember the 1970s, he says, how interesting. Look at the 1970s. Here was a decade that began with all the hopes and the dreams of JFK. and ended with the cynicism and all that accompanied Richard Nixon. And he said, think about the event that was in the middle of all that, the Vietnam War. When we went into Vietnam, 2/3 of Americans believed that it was the right thing for us to do and that we needed to be there. And then what happened is we started hearing various things from the administration, from the president, from Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, where we no longer had trust. They violated the law of solid ground, says John Maxwell. They talked about, they minimized the losses, saying, our success in South Vietnam is guaranteed. They told half-truths. So John Maxwell uses that as an example of how it was that people lost faith in their elected leaders, in politicians, probably remnants of that survive to this day, and how it is that once you lose credibility, what do you have? We see that in the tweets and everything going on, right? Of people attacking other people's credibility. Yeah, you may be a newspaper. You may be a nationally recognized newspaper, but attacking the credibility of individuals and or organizations, because it all comes down to this issue of solid ground.